meeting to order. Thank you everyone for coming this evening. Please remember, if you're a visitor, you're encouraged to sign in, especially if you'd like to speak about something. Whether it's on the agenda, you're allowed to speak at that time, or if it is just another comments, general comments, that happens at the end of the meeting, you're signed up, you wouldn't be allowed to speak. So with that, thank you everybody for coming. Dr. Shemp, are there any revisions or corrections to the agenda this evening?
Just a couple additions. Again, miscellaneous. There's some personal items, mostly ECAs, which I've passed on to you. We'll talk through at the end, and some student transfers. There was one last minute resignation that's not in your packet. We've got an aide that I'll bring up when we get to that point as well.
Very well. Let's move on to the minutes from the August 20th regular session meeting and the August 20th executive session. Are there any questions, corrections, or concerns about those minutes? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve? Okay. And we'll do the regular session first. Lisa made a motion. Seconded by Kim. All those in favor? Is 6. All those abstaining? 1. Zach. All right, move on to executive session. Questions, comments? If not, do we have a motion? Nick to make a motion. Second by Zach. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, we'll move on to financial business. Payroll and claims, financial, PCAs, utility costs.
On page 2 of your agenda, we've always got listed the previous year, the previous month, and the current month. It's not always a good measure to compare those, but at the start of the year sometimes it is. And this is actually a pretty decent time to take a look at. So if you just look at net payroll from the previous year, $639,000 versus the current month's net payroll of $514,000. You see the payroll is down $124,000. That's now is a decent time to look at that. That's a pretty good figure as far as lower amount of payroll that's been paid. You'll also see on total net claims, previous year was just over $1 million, and you're just under $900,000 for the current month. So that's also down about $200,000 year over year. First of the year, there's a lot of expenses when it comes to teachers are back. They're wanting to make those purchases. We've got things prepping for last minute, but you've been doing that each year. So I think it's kind of worth seeing that those numbers are trending in the right direction. Then on the, I guess, well, I jumped too far in. Let me get through page 44. Page 44. And I'm always pointing out to the education fund. The total there at $3.168 million. The operations fund is $3.437 million right now. Rainy day just under $1 million. That's all as of the end of August. Those numbers are holding steady, obviously, at this point. Good to see those numbers. And any questions to that point? If you would look at the ECAs, which start up on page 51. I thought it was interesting. I don't typically point out either. I was trying to look at things a little differently on page actually 53. The total of all ECA funds, the dollars on page 53, there's $193,000. There was a beginning balance, $209,000 roughly is the ending balance. It's just good to see those dollars are there available to spend on extracurricular programming. Kind of want to point that out. And from there, it's on to utility bills,
Okay, we'll move on. We have several donations. Zach, can you read the donations, please?
Bloomingdale Home Telephone, $250. Overpay Gas, $250. JR Pharmacy, $500. Rockville Dental, $500. Loads of Smiles, Family Dentistry, $500. Rockville Coin and Jewelry, $250. Smith Family Products, $250. NBA Foundation, $3,650. Wallace Law Firm, $500. Bay Family Chiropractic, $500. Captain Preston Insurance, $250. Pro Hollow, $100. Red Raccoon, $500. Lucky Tech Indianapolis donated a 1995 Ford F-250 truck. Wheeler Realty, $500. Rockville Coin Jewelry, $50. Amateur Sports Promotion, $302. Beach Reds, $500. Various donors, including $903 and they have chiropractic $50 for a total of $10,305.
Zach, that's awesome. Get those got donations. Great community support. So we have a motion to approve. Police have made the motion. Second by Mark. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, move on to fundraiser. Dr. Champney found money of the fundraisers.
And we got 5 different fundraisers listed here, and only one of the 5 has already happened, so we're making progress there. I've had one conversation again since then. But the Rockville Elementary 3rd grade, I highlighted this in my notes, just that we've got an individual class wanting to do some fundraising. We've had some conversations around this a little bit, and the administrators and various other personnel. Just is it appropriate for an individual class to do a fundraiser? I'm kind of back and forth. I'm not sure, but for the time being, it makes sense. They had come up with 2 different fundraisers they want to do. And sometimes they need to just approach, the administrator. Sometimes I have funds that we can allocate there, so I almost hate for them to go to a fundraiser when we can pay for it in-house. A lot of people feel like they're being supported financially. That's what we do. But anyways, after talking with Krista Bonillo here, she felt like one of them made sense to go ahead and go forward with. If you have input on that, whether or not you want individual classes doing fundraisers, and you want to think that over, talk about it, I'm happy to hear whatever input you have on that. But that's why I listed this one first. So the 3rd graders are doing a collection drive. They're trying to raise $1,000 from 9/22 to October 6th. That's for classroom projects, activities. If there are any thoughts on that, let me know. Otherwise, the next group is for the international trip, selling Crow Hollow candles, November 19th through December 22nd. They're trying to raise $1,000 for that. That's shared amongst the group. If it's the group doing the fundraiser, they share it out to everybody individually. That would be spending on that international trip. CDL Trucking, they did a donation drive. They raised a little over $900 on that. That will show up on the next board packet. Park Area High School FFA, Werewolves Classic, Cattle Show, which is pretty cool thing that they're doing now. November 1st, they raised $3,000. Turkey Run Elementary Fine Arts Day, they're selling beef house rolls October 1st through October 20th. They also raised $1,000. If you don't have questions or input on any of those, you're okay with that? Yeah.
Questions, comments? Or the motion to approve? Kim has made the motion.
Second.
Nick with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, student transfers.
Additional transfers that have kind of trickled in here. We've got 4 kindergartners, a 1st grader, 4 2nd graders, 7 3rd graders, 5 4th graders, 3 5th graders, freshmen, 2 sophomores, 2 juniors, and 4 seniors that are all coming in from various schools, including Southeast Valley. Some are within the corporation from Rockville to Turkey Run area and vice versa. Southmont, Clay,
business. Move on to requests and communications.
Yeah, I got contacted by a representative of the YMCA a few weeks ago, maybe, and so we set a time to meet, and we met, I think, last week. And shortly after talking, I said, hey, you need to talk to our after-school coordinators and our elementary principals. So we set that up, and she came in on Tuesday, had a conversation with them. That was just yesterday, right? Now she's back here again in the court, willing to talk a little bit about opportunities that YMCA provides to different schools around the area, representing Clay County, I guess. YMCA is K-Loop off Nolan, and she's just going to talk for a few, give you an idea about what they do after school-wise, some summer programming that they do, and I just kind of want it out there for your consideration as far as I'm not asking you to vote on anything. I just want you to be able to have a little bit of conversation back and forth for her to present something. Good?
Yeah. Sit, stand, do department. Thank you for the introduction. So my name is Kaylee Mattheoli. I'm the executive director at the Clay County YMCA. Kids are our people. That's kind of like my unofficial tagline for our team. Is that they're just our people. They are everywhere all the time around our building. The YMCA as a whole is structured on 3 pillars. So youth development, social responsibility, and healthy living. And right underneath membership dues to the organization is youth development in terms of programming and number of individuals that we serve. So I'm going to brag on our team a little bit and say, like, we do a really good job hanging out with kids and making sure they feel safe and making sure parents know that their kids are safe, and they just have a really good time with us. So I'm just going to touch on 3 of our biggest service areas. Number 1 would be youth sports. So we run 6 leagues of youth sports. They are back to back to back. Some of them overlap, but we run 2 seasons of soccer, volleyball, and basketball for kiddos ages 4 to 14 in our building. Any given Saturday or Sunday, we have 200 to 300 kids and their families that we're pushing through. We just started soccer last weekend. We're in the thick of it, and we've got 230 kids. So that is chaotic and fun, and we could not do it without volunteers who believe in what we do, staff that believe in what we do, and officials. So we also really believe in those fundamentals. So not only do personally, there's a place for travel, but also we want to make sure that kids are learning how to be good humans and be part of a team and love themselves as athletes and learn how to listen to other grown-ups, right, other than their parents. So we really, really stress those fundamentals, and outside of skills, we're teaching life skills as well. So we are proud to be a feeder program for the middle school and the high school in our community, and giving kids the foundation so they can move on to more advanced things. The other 2 things that we do are primarily in child care. So the first one we do is after-school care. We have a partnership with the Clay Community School Corporation to provide after-school programming in all 7 of the elementary schools. We meet on-site. We have staff there. Bell rings somewhere between 2:15 and 2:30 for us, and then our staff are there until 6 p.m. We do homework. We feed kiddos a snack. We let them run off some of that steam that they have, and we really want to be not only a safe space for kids, but also as working parents. It is so hard to pick up my kid and get home and dinner and bath and homework. So if we can take some of that burden off parents too, we want them to be able to just have fun with their kids, at 5 p.m. whenever they have to pick up from us. So last year we ended up with, I think, 141 kiddos enrolled in after-school care across all 7. Right now we're sitting at about 100 students. That will flux, obviously, through the school year. We have quite a few adds at semester as well. So we're right on track to serve, I guess, more kids this year than we did last year. But we know that childcare is hard. It is hard to find quality people to work in childcare, and it is hard if you are a parent that needs childcare to find something that's available and affordable. So we train our staff, and we make sure, like, hey, if kids aren't your people, we got 1,000 other things you can do, but we really try to pride ourselves on targeting those folks who want to make that a good experience for kids. And we also offer financial assistance. So we don't want finances to be a barrier for a reason why a kindergartner is getting off the bus and staying home alone until 6 p.m. So try to make it accessible to as many people as we possibly can. And then the other child care piece that I'm really, really proud of actually is summer day camp. So it started as just just kind of glorified babysitting because parents need childcare, not just when school's in session, obviously. So it started out as, okay, this is childcare, but we're gonna call it summer camp because that's what the Y tells us to do. And we've done a really good job of changing programming completely over the last, since I've been in this position for 3 years. So that's kind of my passion project of, I joke, but not, my kids are barefoot hippies. We are outside and we are barefoot and we are dirty until it is too cold to do so. And I believe that that's a thing. I guess the Y believes that's a thing that, kids are missing out on. So we've restructured our programming to obviously be that safe space. We have drop off from 6 a.m., you pick up at 6 p.m. So it feels like that childcare piece for parents, but then kids don't feel like they're just being babysat. So we do the camp chants and all of the ritual things that they do. They have group names, our counselors, they wear all the fun stuff. We make posters and it feels like camp, and we program that out of an elementary school in the summertime. We take them on field trips. We've done, Indians games and the zoo. Their favorite this last summer was going to Raccoon Lake and playing on the beach. That was just the best thing for those kids. And I think we sometimes take for granted that some of those kids have never seen it. Even kiddos that live right here have probably never been across the street to see what's happening in those parks. So, we're trying to give those kids green space opportunities, take that burden off parents, and give kids a fun, safe space to be in summertime. So, I guess open the floor for questions. I really believe in what we do. Obviously, kids are a special group, and if we're investing in them now, I was kind of a Y kid growing up. Lots of people that work at the Y were Y kids in one way or another growing up. So, we invest in them now, and then they come back and they invest in kids as well. So, I do have handouts just of kind of what we do, I guess, in terms of youth programming. If you want to take a look at it, hopefully we can open the door for some type of partnership opportunity, I guess.
I'm curious, how does how does the after school thing work? Is it at our buildings, or do you go to all their buildings in Clay County?
We do. So we've done it hybrid in the past. We just opened our third location in our association in Putnam County. So before that building was built, we were programming out of one of the elementary schools, but transportation is able to actually bus all of those kiddos to the YMCA. So that's kind of a blessing for us in terms of staffing, having everyone in one location. In Clay County, we program out of 4 schools, and then we have 3 of those schools that are bused to other sites. So we try to be mindful of transportation because that's another one of bus shortages, and they are doing the Lord's work and some type of magic of figuring out how to get people where they need to be. So we're flexible with the school corp and with the people that have to make those types of decisions, but we some of our buildings, we have a classroom that we're able to program out of. The kids don't want to be in a classroom anyway, so we essentially program out of a rolling cart, and whatever space is available, we make the most of it. Cafeteria, gym, we love playgrounds, whenever the weather allows. So.
What's the minimum or maximum student count?
So for us, from a ratio perspective, we like to stay 1 to 10. We can do 1 to 12 depending on the number of kids we have, obviously. We started programming in Clay City Elementary in the southern end of our county last school year. Last year we had 1 kid, so we're like, all right, can we do this? This year we have 4. So in terms of sustainability, we understand that coming in and doing something new, that doesn't just take off like wildfire. 1 to 10, I guess, would be a good spot for us.
Does Clay Community Schools pay you guys anything, or do you just make money off of?
Yeah, so Clay Community Schools allows us to use their building free of charge. We just have an MOU with them, the understanding that we're going to leave it better than the way we found it, and then we get to keep the registration dollars from summer camp and after school.
How much does that cost for a child?
So summer day camp is about $120 a week per kiddo, and then for after school, depending on, we do part-time rates and then full-time rates as well. We also do additional child discounts, so part-time for one kiddo would be $35, and then the most expensive, I guess, for, let's see, first child full-time would be $50 a week.
Other questions?
So we obviously have some after-school programming already going on right now, but it's kind of going like this right now. We're going through waves, and we're trying to determine, we've made some changes. Now we're looking at what other changes can we need to make to get more people to take advantage of it. That's kind of about the time that I got the email and I said, hey, I know that for years and years that they would go over to, from Clay County over to Ridpath Elementary, is what it was in Greencastle. They would go to TZ, and that was something that worked for a number of years. And they did just recently open a Y there in Putnam County, but I don't think the Y kicked in any money on that, did they? I mean, that's not something that they helped out with. But no, I think they had a lot of good programming there over the years. Just the idea of having the chance to stretch some, think about the activity part of the sports, maybe a time to a summer camp. So we're just kind of having some conversations, trying to figure out, is this something that maybe would make sense for our school, and might kind of take after school to a different level. And then the question comes up about, well, how soon would you consider such a thing? What would you even be able to do? And
I mean, if we hustle, like, we could start programming for you guys if there's a need in January from an after-school perspective. Get our feet wet and figure out the demographic, but, I don't ever want to feel pushy or that, like, we're coming in to take over and it's YMCA territory now, so, depending on the comfort level, some people have a need and they needed it yesterday, but, from a methodical approach, if, starting with the summer day camp program, starting, in August for the next school year, we're fairly flexible, but if the need were there, our youth director is prepared to, do trainings and talk to staff, and the group that we were able to speak with yesterday, the staff in the corporation seem fabulous, so it's not like we would bring in Y staff and fire everybody else, because that's really, really hard. These educators already have relationships with these kids, so if we can just, rebrand it and give y'all more resources, that makes the most sense for us as well, so.
Currently, do we have it at both locations? And what is our current, what's the time
Yeah.
frame?
I'm sorry, time frame until 5 o'clock.
And then how many kids do we have?
Right now, there are 4 coming consistently to Rockville Elementary. I think, Jenny, do you remember, was it 10?
Yeah, we're like at 10 consistent.
So somebody told me, they were really interested in people that had to take it full time. So if we have this part-time, that may get more kids than we need to take people.
Currently is ours, do we charge for it?
So right now, we were charging for the whole week. That's not what it was in the past. And part of that had to do with ease of payments.
Right.
Part of it also had to do with if we're paying people $40 a day, and you got 2 people in each one, there's $80, and you need 10 kids at $8 a day just to break even. You're not really even breaking even because we've got SSI and everything else on top of that. And that's okay, but we want to provide services we can. On some level, that's okay. Right? On some level, it's digging a hole, and we want to make sure that we don't do that a whole lot of times.
This, on the summer aspect, I think that would, we do have a major daycare problem in the county. That would help, and I didn't know what facility-wise, how would that,
So part of the conversation I had the other day was they're willing to work around all the athletic teams that are in and out of the buildings if they have a location. One of the things that stood out for me too was you mentioned that the kids were going to the pool, I think, was it once a week or something?
So the elementary school that we program out of is Forest Park Elementary, and it is very, very close to the Forest Park pool. The YMCA also operates in Clay County, so they walk almost every day to the pool.
So tying in something with the local pool, you know, there's just a lot of pieces. It seems like we could maybe do some good things for kids and tie some, connect some dots.
All right, yeah, it sounds like we need to talk about this at some point in time.
But keep exploring it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, if there's any questions I can answer, you have my email address. You can find the Clay County YMCA on Facebook if you can't wait for my email either, but I'd be happy to answer questions. I can come back, schedule a meeting, whatever that is. We just know that lots of kids need stuff.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on down to new business. Got some personnel items, Dr. Schiff.
We got a leave from Scott Bacon. He's going to be out from September 8th through October 13th. Resignation from Jessica Wolford as Turkey Run Elementary 5-hour custodian. New hires, Samantha Brandon, Turkey Run Elementary Preschool IA, 5 3/4 hours. Thomas Scudder, Turkey Run Elementary custodian, 5 hours. Then update, transfer, /transfer. Natalie Newman is going to be helping a part-time life skills classroom in Turkey Run Elementary here soon as we get the other piece to that staff. She's going to help out that need. I've talked a little bit about how we've got 13 students in one class and 8. No. Is it 8 in the other class? Do you remember?
6 right now, but we are expecting the other 2.
Another 2. Thank you. That's what I'm thinking. And it's a space issue. We'll talk about that. We're going to stretch a little bit there and see if we can't hire an aide to help cover some of those other pieces. ECAs, Jenica Sutton, Park High School head cheer coach, and then Bethany Tidwell and Michaela Rader will volunteer for cheer. That is all the all of the personal items in this one. We've got a bunch of ECAs for you to talk about.
Great. Questions or comments on any of those personnel items? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve? Zach, did you make the motion? Kim, second. All those in favor? 7-0 vote. All right. Dr. Schiff, bus routes.
At the last meeting, there were some more questions about bus routes as far as what they look like. And so I'd asked David Beverly to go into TransFinder and to print out some maps for you so you can see those. You have those in your packet. It's pages 57 to 132. There's a lot of information there. I didn't know if there was any more you wanted to discuss about any of those items. These show every student as if they all ride, right? And so whether or not this is exactly how your student or your grandchildren would ride the bus, that can differ from day to day too, because we may have somebody who's not riding and they called in. I'll say it's going to take a different route because that person who lives 10 minutes out, 10 minutes back is on the bus. But if there are more questions on that, you want to talk about that, please let me know. I'm just trying to provide additional information as requested.
So overall, are the buses, routes going better?
I feel like they're going better than the start of school, yes. Until just this week, there were some more questions that were coming up, and we had a period of time where I wasn't getting as many questions. Now I'm having some questions again, but that's an issue. We had a student who rode the bus and didn't have their pass to be able to get on somebody else's bus. So we didn't get until the end of the route before we knew that student was getting off with their friend. And so the friend's parent and the bus driver had to talk and call mom and make sure everything was in. These are things we do all the time, though, on some level, that we've always got little things like that that are happening. And drivers are trying to handle that. So I appreciate that. It's a tough job, right, being a bus driver. start of the school year, if I remember correctly, the start of the school year, we ran an extra bus out there to pick up those kids on the daycare,
Right.
to make sure that they all fit. Well, then the regular bus route drove on by that house, and it didn't make sense, since that bus had room on it, to keep having two buses go out there.
I understand, but that stop's not on this trip
Oh,
out.
it stops now, okay. I'll have to ask the line.
I mean, I just, because does that change that student count on the students transfer?
Because it's, I may not have the answer, because I don't. So is that the stop 25 on page 78? Makes sense to me, but I'm not sure if those are the names, I'm just trying to make sense of it. But to me, there's 2, 4, 5 kids that get off at one stop.
No, because that address is 115 on Main Street, that's in Bloomingdale. It would be on,
Is it on page 76 on Broadway Street?
74, 74, and it's on there, but the kids aren't listed on there, but the address is on there. Number 10, page 74, is the daycare.
So how many kids, is what you're asking?
So how many kids do get on and off if you've got 58?
I don't know that answer.
So it's a whole.
How many?
I mean, at the beginning, here was 5. That's what we sent to the rest of it was 5.
Do you have any other questions on that?
no.
So yeah, it looks like in this case, that one is not, at least up to date as far as potential kids that are riding that bus. Right.
Don't we go from the grade school to, I think it's, Rock Christian Church, maybe? And possibly another daycare on Strawberry Road before they picked up back to high school.
I don't think that will do.
Not on Strawberry Road. But just the church, they did.
Maybe the church, that's not that sure.
That's on there.
This is the most up-to-date information that I've been needing in regard to who's on what route. Pass it to you. Sounds like there's some holes in it still.
I'm guessing that all the students are just on their own routes and not on where they're on this drive.
No, because that's what it is, definitely more.
Okay. Is there any other questions that anybody would like Dr. Ship to get to the bottom of? Okay. So, what are we approving on this?
Did I presented the routes to you as given to me? I guess what is the best way? Because that's all I can say, right? This is the best information I can provide when it comes to the routes. It's up to date as I've been shared.
Okay.
And if, we kind of talked about this in the last meeting, it's something where we want to hear from the
still with that, I mean, that's Mr. Ship's job, we don't need to be in the middle of that, you know. Huh? But we are here. So I think that's cool.
It's our job to take care of our kids.
Anyway, I think that's,
However we address it, now that has anything to do with the bus routes in particular, but it has to do with how we're providing that transportation. As those bus drivers, they take care of our kids every day, and we need them every day.
I'd be okay with hearing from the board here.
Just have to figure out that. Maybe when we get to the end of the meeting and we're going over those dates that are coming up, maybe there's one of those that makes sense. As far as I'm concerned, if that sounds like acceptable.
as far as the date that you're talking, him, is that what, which I just think we have to be careful there, that's really not our role.
So that's why it is,
Just information gathering, I'm not looking to say, hey, do this or do that, I just like to hear from him information.
What would you say about setting that up? So do we want to approve the routes as they have been presented? And do we want to approve that we've been presented the routes? Kim has made the motion. Seconded by Mark. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, budget presentation.
All right, so in your packet there, starting on page 133, you got a printout of a PowerPoint. This is similar to PowerPoint you got in years gone by. But what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to go through some of this, and I'm going to end up asking for permission to advertise the budget, CPF, bus replacement plans as presented in here. I'm going to go through some of these pages, kind of make some sense of it in the meantime. There's a lot here. This isn't actual approval of the budget at this time. This is just presentations. So, page 133, you see basically the calendar of dates. These are the anticipated meetings for October 8th, October 22nd, and this should say September 17th, 2025, which is tonight. Presentation. And on page 134, you see there are reminders there on where revenue comes from: education, reparations, debt service, rainy day. And then you also see the ADM per student on page 134. You can kind of track from year to year. In 21-22, $6,895.72 was the amount that came out per student, as compared to 25-26, $7,704.02 per student, so it's almost $1,000 more per student this year than it was in 21-22. On page 135, you can compare cash balances one year to the next. These are the same education operation fund balances I've been pointing out for the last many months here as we're paying close attention to that. Page 136 starts to get into that information with tax comparisons. So if you're looking at page 136 at the top, and you see the tax rate comparison, you will see the bottom left, it says 2026 advertised. We've always advertised high, and then we adjusted once it's been moved. And so that number is a high number. It's $1.3123. That's not what we'll end up getting approved for. That's not where we'll end up. It is probably worth pointing out, I know we've had a couple conversations. We've got Matt from Stiefel here tonight. Matt will probably say this again some point later on. The rate, the levy, we're going to get that in our head still, and I'm saying it for me as much as anybody. You know, the rates are going to change, but the total levy, that's a different story, right? So we're trying to still collect X amount. It just as the rates go up, it's going to take a higher rate to get there. That's essentially what I'm saying. rate is 66.23 cents. You see that under 2025 certified, and we advertised higher in 2025 as well. All right, so on 136, the bottom half of the page, you see that the total is 131. You can see the debt service fund is 0.2901. That is the old Rockville. That's 0181. Is Rockville's old debt service that falls off in January 2027. And then the NCP debt service of 0.1722. That's the amount that we put in as a placeholder for the bond. If that ends up going through, we need to be able to put that into the budget. Any questions to this point?
Pretty much, they don't allow you to do that for the rainy day fund anymore, right?
Then, so 137 through, all the way up to, probably go all the way up until 137, all the way up to 165. A lot of that really gets into the weeds of what is it that makes up those dollar amounts, individual line items for staff and, communication disorders, travel, elementary summer school, high school summer school, online instruction, vehicle operation. I mean, really, that's where you get into the weeds in those pages. And I don't know how far you want me to go into the weeds on that, but they're there. We'll take the time to go into. 165 starts off the capital projects plan. And up to 167, Gina, I think you'll approve. We finally don't have greenhouse on this list. That's what you've asked about a couple times. The greenhouse is not on the list anymore. But these end up being placeholders. If you look at the top of 167, I think it's worth remembering that all of these proposed projects, they're proposed, that are in capital nature that exceed $10,000 are expected to begin within this 3-year period of time. So these may not happen. At the same time, it's a lot harder for us to do that if we don't have them listed down here in our CDF fund. So you can see these various projects listed. Any questions on the CPF piece? It gets into the weeds then some on that on the following pages up to about 175, where you've got the bus replacement plan, and actually 177 gives you more information than that, where it gets into here are the individual buses that we're looking at, replacement on. They're kind of staggered, which is good, but I'd like them to be staggered even more, because when you're spending $130,000, $140,000 on a bus, or 120 is listed here, it gets to be a lot of money pretty quickly. So we've tried to be really smart about that. Are there any questions on the bus replacement fund, the CPF?
The bus replacement, we have another grant out there, possibly for electric or maybe other.
So we're just at the 2 electric buses. That's its whole known thing since that company has gone bankrupt. So that's interesting. The EPA has reached out and said that they may be doing some buyback programs. We've also then recently got notification about something with the regular batteries on the buses. So we've got them on hold right now while we're trying to determine a fix. So we may have gotten a little bit of time for free on those buses. We'll see. We've not had the internal problems that some others have. That doesn't mean they've not been perfect. We do have a new full-size bus coming that was in last year's budget, so that's coming. We've got another activity bus coming that was purchased and has been waiting since 5 months ago, maybe, on that. So we are working on updating our fleet. permission to advertise. That's what I'm asking for at this point, is permission to advertise. And you're okay with that? Move on to the next item.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to give permission to advertise the budget as presented?
I'll move.
Okay. Nick has made the motion,
Second.
seconded by Elise. All those in favor? 7-0? Okay. Special hearing on bonds, and I need to read that, right?
Yeah, so page 180 is the agenda part of it, and Matt will be ready. If you want to hook in there, if you need to hook in, you're welcome to. There's a cord there for you, hopefully that'll work.
So at this time, we will conduct a project hearing on pending HVAC project proposed for Rockville Mills.
Do I need to read
If you
the,
want to go ahead and probably take that there, we won't be going to it.
The next item on the agenda is for the board to hold a project and preliminary hearing on the proposed project. If you're interested in speaking at the hearing, please make sure you have signed in the sign-in sheet at the back of the room, side of the room, which should include your name and address. After a presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comment about the project. At the hearing, we will ask that each person limit their comments to 3 minutes and that the topic be limited to the proposed project under consideration. The notice of this project hearing was published as legally required. At this time, I will ask the superintendent to explain the purpose of this hearing.
Pursuant to Indiana Code 20-26-7-37, before a school corporation may spend more than $1 million to build, repair, or alter a school building that will be financed by lease or bonds, it must hold a public hearing in which explanations of the potential value of the project to the school corporation and community are given. These public hearings and the adoption of resolutions are the very beginning of the legal process. These resolutions establish the maximum financial terms for the proposed project.
We will now hear from the superintendent about the process of determining and communicating the project to the community and the need for the project.
Although not required by state statute, the superintendent is allowed to discuss the history and process to this point. I think for transparency purposes, it makes sense to do so. The HVAC system at Rockville Elementary, as you know, is reaching the end of its life. It has created possible air quality concerns as well as comfort issues at the start of the school year that are impacting student learning at Rockville Elementary. Specific items to be addressed in this project include HVAC and site improvements, classroom improvements, as well as improvements concerning safety, security improvements, and the purchase of equipment and technology. In regard to the educational need for the project, over the past few years, it's become increasingly difficult to maintain a comfortable learning environment for students and teachers at Rockville Elementary. There have been occasions where we've had to go to Amazon to find parts for the system due to manufacturers indicating the components have become obsolete. Conversations have been ongoing with maintenance in regards to the need to update the system. In order to sufficiently make these improvements, it's recommended to move from a 2-pipe system to a 4-pipe system that will allow for greater control of building temperatures and humidity. Since 2020, upgrading the HVAC system has been on the long-range strategic plan. Small fixes have been made over that time frame, and new chillers were purchased/installed in each building over that time period. I would add that those were funded from stimulus dollars, so we're noted. Turkey Run Elementary received significant improvements to the HVAC beyond the chiller, with specific classroom updates occurring in the same year, 2023, as the cafeteria remodel on that site. At the start of the 25-26 school year, there were air quality issues impacting the educational environment at Rockville Elementary. country, these impacts will become more significant in the future if this project does not get completed. Phase one of the project, which I've been working with Tecton and talking that through with Medicaid today, and they would actually like to do a work session at some point with the board to get some additional information. Phase one may not be able to address all the issues of the building, but will provide for significant improvements and a road to long-lasting resolutions. But to minimize tax impact, the project will be completed in phases. So,
We will now hear from Stifel, Nicholas and Company Incorporated, our underwriter. Could also be School Corporation CFO for programs. About how the proposed project will be financed, as well as information about the effect on the typical property taxpayer.
Good evening, Matt Shoemaker, Stifel. Good to see you guys all again. My role tonight is to talk through the financial impact. I have several slides that I will walk through, and then happy to answer any questions that the board or the public may have about any of this. So first thing that we always look at is the school corporation's outstanding debt obligations. Obviously, we've talked about this for many years now. You only have the one outstanding bond left, the 2014 bonds. After this year, you'll only have 2 years of payments left, and all of that is wiped clean. As we look at the proposed 2025 bonds listed at $3.7 million, we have shown an illustration of a repayment schedule for those bonds. I do want to note, like, this has not been decided. This is just for illustration purposes. You all are going to make the decision if these bonds are issued, how you want them to be paid back. We are currently showing a 10-year payback. The main point of that is Mr. Schiff just talked about. There are additional needs potentially down the road. We want to make sure that we create room for those as needed, which is kind of why we started here. But again, you all will make the decision on how you want that to be. So we are showing the levy in the debt service fund going up from about $900,000 to $1.6 million. The $1.6 million matches the payments that you guys have had here. So historically, if you go back 4 or 5 years, that's kind of the levy that you guys had for several years. So going back to that levy that the school corporation has historically had, but then immediately dropping it in 27 and 28. The reason that we're doing that is if you are contemplating additional projects, we want to make sure there's no one-time levy increase. If we're going to a specific levy, we want to make sure we're not increasing that with each subsequent project if there are those projects. So a one-time increase, then level out moving forward if there are additional projects moving forward. So again, illustration only. You guys will make the ultimate decision on how you want to do this. Certainly could be paid back quicker if this is the only project that is being done. But again, we're trying to create room and flexibility in the future if there are additional projects that the board wants to look at. So you don't have a resolution in front of you tonight. That will be after the next hearing in October. But I do like to go over the financial parameters of this meeting just so that there is any questions or are any questions about this that we talk about them now and we can adjust before the second hearing. So maximum par amount of the bonds, as I have mentioned, $3.7 million. This is a true not to exceed. You can borrow any number up to $3.7 million. You cannot go above that. Estimated cost of issuance, these would be upfront professional fees. And I do want to mention everything on this page is a maximum parameter or a worst case parameter. We've listed $200,000 for the cost of issuance just because we're always conservative. That number is going to be much closer to $100,000, might even be a little bit less than that. But again, we're building in a little conservatism into all of these numbers moving forward. So at $200,000, that would leave $3.5 million left for the hard and soft project cost, the dollars going into the projects that Mr. Schiff just mentioned. Maximum interest rate, we've listed at 6%. If you were selling these bonds today, you're somewhere in the 4% range. The Fed did come out this afternoon and reduce rates a quarter point as expected, so hopefully that helps moving forward. But again, we're not selling these bonds today. Obviously, the market can do anything that it does. We want to build some conservatism into this as well. Maximum term of the bonds is listed at 15 years, so the last payment could be January of 2029. and 40. Again, we don't expect you to take the full 15 years. This is just flexibility in those parameters. We're essentially building parameters and then allowing you guys to make the ultimate decision if you decide to pursue this bond issue. Estimated interest cost, that is based off a $3.7 million borrowing at 6% paid back over 15 years. So this number is going to be higher than hopefully what we actually see. That's listed at $1,019,000. If the interest rate ends up being less, if you pay it back quicker, that number is going to come down substantially. Net increase over the 2025 debt service tax rate is listed at 11.1 cents, and we'll go into more detail on that and the true impact of the taxpayer on the subsequent pages. The last two pieces of information that you'll see in the resolution next month, school corporation's max annual payments as a percentage of your net assessed value is 0.17%. And then direct and overlapping debt, this is your debt plus the other unit's debt that a taxpayer would see on their tax bill, because obviously the school corporation is not the only taxing entity. You take that as a percent of the NAV, and then it's 0.75%. So we've gone a little bit deeper here in terms of what is the actual impact going to be to a taxpayer. I can't answer it for every single taxpayer tonight. Obviously, it depends on the value of their home. What we have done here is try to show kind of an average. So walking through this fairly quickly. So we've broken this out by Rockville and Turkey Run, just so that the two communities can see what that impact would be. We've taken the market value of the home, of the average home in this community from the latest census data. That's listed under the gross assessed value. As we talked about in the past, the tax rate is not applied to the gross assessed value or the market value of the home. There are certain deductions that come out in the state of Indiana. Those deductions are set to go up with Senate Enrolled Act 1, as we'll talk about. But that $153,000 home, that's the average home price in this community based on the latest census data. You take out the standard deduction and the supplemental deduction, you come up with a net assessed value of $66,000 for that home. That's the value that the tax rate is applied to. So we've broken out the tax rates, the debt service fund and the operations fund. The total district tax rate for Rockville taxpayers in this current budget year in 2025 is 66.23 cents. You can see the liability, that's the amount of taxes that average home is paying based on those two different tax rates. So in a $153,000 house in Rockville, that taxpayer is paying $437 in this current budget year for the school's portion of that tax bill. Looking at 2026, the math is the same. A few of the components are different. The supplemental deduction there is scheduled to go up, meaning that we're going to see the net assessed value come down. As a reminder, Senate Enrolled Act 1 is phasing in these higher deductions from now until 2031, so this is going to change each and every year. That deduction is going to go up each and every year through now in 2031. So now the $153,000 average home is a net assessed value of $63,360, so a little bit less than it was in 2025. We apply the projected new tax rate. We expect the debt service tax rate to go from about 20 cents to about 24 cents. We expect the operations fund tax rate to stay pretty much the same. So their total tax rate has gone from 66 cents up to 70 cents, or up about 4 pennies. You can see the total liability has gone from $437 to $446, so it's gone up about $9. But what Senate Enrolled Act 1 is implementing is a new homestead credit. This is the lesser of 10% of the taxpayer's liability, no greater than $300. So as we look at this taxpayer liability for 2026, it is projected to be $446. You take off the 10% credit from that, which is $44.68. You come up with a net tax bill of $402, which is about $35 less than what they pay in the current budget year. So for Rockville homeowners, and again, this will vary based on the value of their home, because that's what all these calculations are based on, they should be paying a little bit less even after doing this For Turkey Run, the same math. You can see in 2025, for that average home value, they're paying about $306. Moving forward to 2026, you can see the tax rate would go up the 11 pennies that we just talked about because they have no debt, the 46 cents to the 57 cents. You can see the new tax liability goes from $305 up to $365 before that credit. You add in the $36 credit, and you come up with a net tax bill of $328, which is only $22 more than what they would have paid for this year. So I wanted to talk you all through what the homesteads would look like. Again, these are projections. Senate Rule Act 1 was complex. There's a lot of moving parts, but for the average homeowner, that's what that difference would look like. I did add in farmland as well. Farmland is a little bit different in terms of they do not have a deduction right now. There is going to be a deduction as part of Senate Rule Act 1 moving forward. But farmers pay taxes based on a base value that is set formulaically by the state. So in 2025, that base value per acre was $2,280. That gave a farmer in Rockville per acre a total liability of $15.10. We're going to see the deduction phase in again for farmers from now until 2031. The base value is scheduled to go down about $300 per acre from 25 to 26. Which gives us a total liability in Rockville of $14.05 for 2026, which is about $1 less per acre for farmers in Rockville. Turkey Run, because they don't have debt and they would be adding on debt, 11 cents of debt, they're going from $10.57 to $11.48 again per acre, or an increase of just under $1 per acre. That was a lot. Obviously, I'm happy to answer any questions about any of this, but I did want to take it just a little bit further to show what that impact would be for taxpayers.
So, remind me, or I know we went over this last time, but why the Rockville one is going down there?
For
Like the Rockville farm ground one, is it going up or it goes down?
yeah, because the base value is going down so much, it's going down about $300. That even with the tax rate going up 4 cents, that net tax liability is going to be less. The reason Turkey Run is going up slightly is because there is no debt right now, so you're adding in that 11 cents. So their tax rate in Rockville is only going up 4 cents. In Turkey Run, it is going up 11 cents. But again, you can see the total liability or the net liability is still less in Turkey Run than it is in Rockville. It is just going up a little bit, or would be scheduled to go up a little bit next year based on these projections.
What, does Turkey Run get the base value deduction?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's the same for all communities, for all acreage across the state. It is not community specific. Every acre of farmland in Indiana for 2026 is going to pay the $1,993. So it'd be the same regardless of community. It's simply because the Turkey Run does not have that and is adding a little bit of that. That's why it's going up slightly.
So we should be adding the same amount of debt to Rockville, right?
Yes, their assessed value for 2026 grew significantly more than the
Okay.
Turkey Run component. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's a great question. I should have mentioned that too. Yeah. So Rockville's net assessed value is growing about 10%. And that's why when you look at this total district rate, this is only 4 pennies higher. It's not the 11 cents higher that we talked about that net impact being. It's because the net assessed value in this community went up about 10%. The net assessed value in Turkey Run, I believe, I'd have to look for sure, is scheduled to drop about 3 percentage points. So you guys are going to grow community where school district wide about 4%, but it's broken down between the two communities.
that net assessed value growing ate up their other payment,
Correct.
and that's why they're
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Yeah, because they're having the same payment from one year to the next, but it's scheduled to go from like 19 cents this year down to like 12 cents next year. Same payment, because that tax base grew though, the impact to the rate is bringing that down. Yeah, it's a great question. Sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier.
Okay, other questions? Okay. So now we go down here to the public hearing part, right? Thank you.
Of course.
We will now open the public hearing. Remember, if you'd like to speak, please sign in on the sheet, which is located on the table on the side of the room there. As mentioned earlier, we ask that you state your name and address, limit your comments, the proposed project and financing. Keep any comments to 3 minutes and avoid being repetitive if possible. May I have the sign-in sheet now, and I'll begin calling names of those who are interested in speaking. Okay, looks like nobody signed in to talk about this. So, does anybody have, let's see, as open as we can be, anybody like to speak? All right, Mark, you missed your chance. Thank you to all who participated in the hearing. We appreciate your time and interest in the projects and the future of our community. Please note that this is just the first step in the legal process. The board will continue to work with the administration and its professionals to look for efficiencies to conserve tax dollars while meeting our educational needs. Dr. Ship, can you please summarize the project resolution?
Yeah, would be happy to summarize it. Project resolution is required when the schools plan to spend more than $1 million per building. It contains the estimated hard and soft construction cost of issuance, and establishes the total project cost. It also contains the estimated tax impact. That is on pages 185 to 186. And if you do not have any additional questions on the project resolution, I would recommend that you approve it as presented.
Okay. Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the project resolution?
So,
Zach has made the motion. Seconded by Mark. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor? We'll say aye, I guess, for this, but 8. All right, unanimous. 7-0. Okay. So, read the next one.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got a couple others here. The administration, I need to share that the preliminary bond resolution contains the project cost for the project, maximum interest rate, and other financial terms such as the first interest payment date and maturity dates of the bonds. Those are on pages 187 to 188. The only thing I would add is in your copy, Martin County doesn't have an E on it at the bottom. In the copy you'll sign afterwards, it does. I'm correcting that since the spell check sometimes, doesn't like that E on there in Martin County. So that's fixed in the one you'll sign later if you approve it. I recommend that that be approved as presented as well.
Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the preliminary bond resolution?
I'll move.
Nick, that make motion.
Second.
Elise, second. All those in favor? I'm still with the hand. 7-0, okay. Dr. Schiff, you want to read the next part?
Yeah, the last of these for now. Next resolution is a reimbursement resolution relating to the financing and construction project. This resolution permits the school corporation to reimburse itself for bond proceeds for which any cash which it might spend on the project prior to the closing on the bonds. It's required by federal law in order to preserve the school corporation's ability to reimburse itself. So it's important.
Okay. Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the reimbursement resolution?
So moved.
Gina has made the motion.
Second.
Kim, second. All in favor? 7-0. Okay, public resolution.
Yeah, we should be good enough.
Do I need to, we don't need to read that aloud? Okay.
We've already got it.
Okay, so, we've got those three. Let's move on to miscellaneous business.
And then your miscellaneous packets. You have CCAs there listed. This is the sheet that WH shares with the principals, the ADs. You can see a column on here that I don't think I usually show you, but there's a column here where people initial. So, for example, varsity football coach, R.S. Rich Shelsky is initial. Okay? You can go on through, you can see some LWs for Lisa Reitzman, and you can see anybody with an initial I'm recommending tonight. There's some that, for example, on the bottom of the first page, in blue, bottom right, those individual names I don't have yet, they're initials, so I'm not recommending them until I get those initials. It's just the people that have been initial positions, that the initial. Second page, you'll see there's a few more columns in blue that haven't been initial. It doesn't mean that those people won't be there. It's just, for whatever reason, they haven't marked yet. So I only want to recommend these kind of initial. If there are questions on any of those, let me know. These tie back to BCA schedule, which is a master contract.
Any effort, especially the girls' basketball, some of these other postponed positions? Like sports, last time,
Any effort there?
has effort been made to,
I can't speak to their individual effort. I would assume that they are making efforts, but I don't know if there's been a posting on any of those individual positions, which is something we talked about last time, working on posting. Well, I've not had a conversation with the athletic director about any of those positions.
like girls' basketball been posted?
If they were doing what?
It's just the jobs.
Yeah.
It's just the.
Oh,
Posted.
Are we posting if it's the same coach coming back? I thought we were just posting if it's like a new coach, right? Or do we post all of them?
We've just been posting if it was something new.
That's what I thought.
If we're not bringing back that person, there's been a conversation that we're going to post that position, for sure. Yes,
any other questions? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve?
Only other, sorry, there was one other addition that I needed to add to the personnel piece. If I could, lump that in here, we had one resignation that said Anna Hicks resigned as an IA in life skills. Since this is personnel, usually I lump those in together.
If to write it in, we'll just add it on its own. Put it in after transfer. So, do we have a motion on the ECAs? made the motion.
Second.
Gina with the second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, transfers. Dr. Shem?
Yeah, we've got a few more to list here. We've got 2 students from South Vermillion, a second and fourth grader that have come in, and 1 other student that's transferred within between the 2 elementary buildings. Ask for you to approve those.
All right, do we have a motion? Zach, make the motion.
Second.
Mark? Second, all those in favor? 7-0. All right. Let's move on. We have a resignation.
Anna Hicks has resigned as a life skills IA at Turkey Run Elementary.
So do we have a motion to accept her resignation?
So moved.
Lisa's made the motion.
Second.
Nick, second, all those in favor? 7-0. Okay, that's it for miscellaneous business. Move on to the superintendent's report.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot in here to add beyond teachers' contracts. We negotiated on Monday night thanks to Zach and Mark for participating in that. And we got out of there, I don't know, it was about 9:50 that evening. Ended on a positive note. The indication was that teachers were probably going to vote to approve that. They have to get together and meet. By law, we're required to have 72 hours between that and the next board meeting, so that's why I listed October 8th as the next meeting to get that TA, the tentative agreement out there, which then you have to have that piece before you actually ratify it, which will be October 22nd. So long as teachers vote for it, then we post the TA tentative agreement, it gets ratified, and then it would be probably mid to early November that they would get their new pay rates, and we would do their back pay if the back pay has occurred between the start of the school year, which would be July 1, the start of the contract year, to that point. Is there any questions on that? I thought for the most part, it went well. Appreciate the time you guys put in. Outside of that, thank you for working through each of these items tonight. And then some of those things that are a long time coming, working on the bonds. I know we have the renovation project on the early childhood that I've talked about with Tecton, and we're trying to determine, can we lump that together with the HVAC project? Because if we can, we might get some economy of scale there, and be able to save a little bit of dollars by making it into one project. We're trying to figure out from a grant perspective and from, does it make sense to do that? I think it does. It's just a matter of crossing the T's and trying to dot the I's on that.
Is that grant, what do we have to spend for that grant?
What would be the
When
amount
do we have
of it?
to
So,
match?
so we had 1.2 million in the budget. They will give us 475,000 after they take a cut of 25,000 from the 500. And that amount would then need to be spent. They haven't given us a deadline outside of we'll go through next year to get it done. So the only thing they had told me was that they have to wait for, I think it's at 65% of Ready 1.0 funds to be spent. That hadn't happened yet. So it's been slow moving across the board for these projects. So once 65% of the first Ready's grants are spent, then Ready 2.0 can start tapping into their dollars. So in some ways it's good that we go slowly with this, because we wouldn't have been able to get those extra dollars in this. Any questions? That or anything else? Anything else funny for tonight? Unless you have questions? Anything?
Okay. We'll move on to comments from the public. Huh?
I'll pass it.
All right. If you don't October 8th on a special session hearing on the budget and the TA meeting on teacher contracts. That's Wednesday, October 8th, 6 o'clock. And we got a next meeting after that is Wednesday, October 22nd is our regular meeting for, it'll be the ratification of the contract and public comment on the budget adoption at 6 o'clock as well. Both of those are here. Typically,
We'll also have follow-up on bonds, for those meetings that will be advertised as required.
okay, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.